Hello and welcome back to Leo's Book Reviews. This week I went in a little bit of a different direction and did a graphic novel this week. So as always, I will be posting the written review on my Facebook page as well as on the Goodreads site, and I'll link both of those down below for you if you prefer to read versus listen. So this week I read a graphic novel anthology called This Place, 150 Years Retold, with a foreword by Alicia Elliott. This contains a lot of different stories. The general theme for this, however, is told from the viewpoint of Indigenous peoples in Canada and the northern United States, with the view that they're already living in a dystopian world since contact when the colonizers from overseas came to the North America continent, which I agree with. They are living in a dystopian world. Especially after reading this, it was a very enlightening way to convey the history of everything they've been through since the colonizers came. But one of the things I really enjoyed about it is it is history, and it's history from a different point of view, which is something that I will always tend to believe over the histories written by the winners. But they do put this in order of the history for the most part as it moves and goes forward. But one thing that I really enjoyed about it after reading the foreword is the beginning of every story has the timeline of the events leading up to and sometimes past the story, as well as an introduction from the author, explanation of the historical significance of each of these. And then, of course, as always with graphic novels, it's beautiful, beautiful illustrations. They do have all of the listing of the authors at the end, and it's just amazing. And like this one, it's just beautiful, beautiful illustration. There are a lot of stories in the book, all dealing with different timelines, different groups of people being affected. Some of them are set pretty recently in the 1990s, the early 2000s, and I'm almost ashamed that I didn't know this history and everything that's happened and is still happening to the Indigenous peoples of these areas. And I know we've been getting a lot more aware, especially with the residential schools and discovering that history. But just to see some of what happened, and I mean, one of these stories is literally about banning a celebration, a customary celebration that they held, that, I mean, the government tried to ban it, and it was an integral part of their life. And it's just, it's not fair, it's not right, and I hope that we're coming to realize that it's very impactful. If you don't know the history, or even if you do know the history, but seeing it from this first person point of view, seeing these historical figures that tried to help their people and how a lot of them were treated by the government, by the armed forces, by the police, is just hard to read. I am an eternal optimist, I guess, a realist. I know there are people out there. I've met some of them, but you don't want to think that the majority of people are like that. And then you read these histories and realize what they have been fighting on their own for all of these years, and how the government tried to splinter them and keep them apart. And I know there's a lot of negativity around social media, and that is well earned. I mean, it's definitely had some negative impacts in today's society, but I mean, social media is what found me this book, to learn this history. It's what's connecting me to people so that I can try and understand and learn from our past. So this book is definitely worth picking up. Want to learn history, if you just like a good graphic novel, if you want to learn about different cultures. There's a story in here called Rosie that's about the touches on the shamanism of the northern indigenous peoples and how it affects their life and their spiritual life is really fascinating to me, as you know from a lot of the videos that I have been putting up or reviews. I am really researching into the spiritual earth religions, and while this is not classified and I would not practice it because I'm not part of that culture, being able to learn about it and see how it affects their lives and how that just really isn't compatible with the colonist culture. It's hard to read, to see these people and looking back and knowing how part of your family may have talked like this in the past. It's hard to think about, but we need to think about it. We need to change it and recognize that we were not here the colonizers were not here first, and if I could go back in time and do something about it, I would. I can't. So for now, I'm doing what I can, and helping, trying to spread awareness and education for all of the minority, and I do air quotes because they're really not the minority. They're the oppressed, and they're the ones that need the help and the awareness. But anyway, they're the ones that need the help and the awareness, and for us to step back and realize what we've done and do what we can to make reparations for that. And I hope that change for that will come sooner rather than later. So that's my viewpoints. One of the reasons I did actively go out and seek these books, to gain a different viewpoint, to understand the cultures that were here in this land before, to be able to respect them and respect their traditions and the spirits they have in the land. They were here for hundreds of years before the colonizers showed up. And yes, I am saying us because the bulk of my family heritage is European. So if you want to learn to change or want to see why you think we should change, this place, 150 Years Retold, is absolutely a good starting point. It will show you what has been happening to the people that were here before and are still here today. I'm not trying to generalize that they're gone now. They're not. They're here. They're being oppressed. And we need to make sure that people are aware of it so that we can move forward and change it. So, but book review wise, amazing, beautiful illustrations, beautifully told stories. There are some that are biographies of historical figures. There are some that are figments of fictional figures that are still telling these stories. There's some that I believe are autobiographies of people who lived through these events. Well written, well told. Pick it up. If you just like graphic novels, anthologies, this is a fantastic, fantastic book to pick up. So thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the review of This Place, 150 Years Retold. I encourage you to pick it up. I will link down to the book at Barnes & Noble below if you want to just be able to click on that link. As usual, I will also link my Facebook review page and my Goodreads page down below as well if you prefer to just read rather than listening to me. Thank you very much for listening today. I'd appreciate a like and a subscribe. Thank you again, and have a good day.